Welcome to Meet the Candidates 2022, a voter education program brought to you by the Shakopee Chamber of Commerce. My name is Tim Zunker, and I'm the president with the Shakopee Chamber and Visitors Bureau. Our hope is that these candidate interviews and profiles will help you, the voter, understand your choices when it comes to the 2022 elections. We ask voters to arm themselves with the information necessary to make educated choices and to make casting your vote a priority. Please visit the Shakopee Chamber website at shakopee.org to find out more information about the upcoming election. And now I'd like to introduce Joe Aldrich, who is running again for Shakopee School Board. Joe, thanks for joining us today. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am currently the Chief Financial Officer of ECA Marketing. It is a insurance brokerage in Eden Prairie. I've been there 22 plus years. I have also worked at a couple of other companies that I've worked on budgets, financials, controller, head accountant. I live here in Shakopee, which makes sense since I'm running in Shakopee, with my wife and my two daughters who have both went through the Shakopee School District.
Great. No, let's get started. So what inspired you to run again for Shakopee School Board?
Let's go back to why I ran the first place. March 14th, 2017, wasn't that long ago. The district came out and said that they had a $4.5 million budget error. And as an accountant, as somebody who's worked on budgets for 20 plus years at that point, it was like, it blew me away that they could have this kind of an error. And when the reserves, the unrestricted fund went from 14 million down to under $1 million, it inspired me to be like, okay, it's time to run, put up or shut up, I guess, because we needed somebody, I thought, who understood budgets on the board. We did a lot of things over the last 4 years to make sure that those errors have been corrected. We had a couple of different finance directors while I was there. And Bill Manazzi, who's been there for 3 years, has really implemented a lot of things. We get a monthly report on where we're at with the budget, comparing it to the previous years, comparing it to the budget. And it's just a really good snapshot so that everybody on the board knows exactly where we're standing at for each month. And I went back and I was watching old videos of school board meetings, especially with the audit. And there was like a 20-minute audit, 10-minute audit. They didn't really go over numbers or anything. And in the last few years, we've had the auditors come in and present their facts to us to allow us to ask any kind of questions. And we've looked at the budget. I've read the budget. I've read the audit report, and everybody looked at me like, you read the audit report? And I'm like, that's my job, isn't it? Because I've been the treasurer of the board for the last 4 years. And to me, that's the job of the treasurer to read the audit. Fascinating. And why am I running again? The school has a model education forward. I've been saying it's fiscally forward, financially forward. I want to always keep looking 3-4 years into the future at projected budgets to make sure that, hey, 4 years from now, it looks like we're going to be in deficit situation, whatever that is, if it's $1 million or 500,000 or 2 million, just so that we can start making cuts in certain departments if we need to now, so that we can accumulate that money. Because if it's a $2 million 4 years down the road, if you cut 500,000, which on a $100 million budget is not overly significant. Every cut's, especially if it goes to the classroom, significant. But if you start cutting 500 now, that's 500 that you don't have to cut next year, and it actually adds up to 2 million 4 years from now. So if you keep looking forward, if you keep making sure that 4 years, 5 years down the line, it's really tough to go over 3 or 4 years because you just never know what kind of revenue is going to come in. Even though the state gives like 2% a year. But when you have 2% a year revenue, 3% a year in expenses, and we don't even know what with inflation what that might be. The contracts for the teachers and everything, it's usually, for a couple of years at least. But you always want to look forward so that you don't have to run into the same situation that we did. Unfortunately, we didn't have that except the year of the deficit was right after my first year on the board. I hadn't really got fully ingrained into the budget. But it's just one of those things that I've been asking the right questions for the last 4 years, and we're to a point comfortable, but I want the district to be more than comfortable. I want them to feel secure with the decisions that we're making with their money, because it is their money. It's our money. We live in Shakopee. It's our money. And the other reason, I just love to see the success of the students. I was wavering whether or not to run. Graduation in June was it's such a moment that these kids have been working for 13 years, or really 18 years since they were born. And just to see the smiles on their faces and the nervousness of what's coming, in their future, it's great. And when we bring in students who, we celebrate their achievement, it's just great to be a part of a district that celebrates the students' success. And we want to see all students succeed. The more the students succeed, the better for Shakopee, the better for the future of this country.
Great. Thank you, Joe. We've seen the graduation rate for the Shakopee High School stay above the state average. What can the Shakopee School District do to not only maintain this level, but exceed it?
This was a very interesting question, because I think one thing is the academy model really gives these students a look into the future, and whether or not they want to, because if somebody goes into business entrepreneurship and they don't like it as a 10th grader, and they can opt into a different academy, it helps them right away. And I think by taking these courses and molding them into the different academies, it just gives kids, they can see the future. The last thing we want to do is take down any kind of standards just to get the graduation rates higher. We want everybody to achieve at an absolute highest rate possible, and really just encourage the students. I think the number one thing is we passed the levy in 2021 last year, which lowered class sizes. From what I've heard, the teachers are breathing a sigh of relief, because at the high school, they had up to 40 students per class, and now it's back down to where it was a few years ago. And I think that then you have more individual learning for the teacher, and the student can have more one-on-one. Tough to do at 40. Still tough to do at 32, but it's easier. And I just think that these kids just need to be pushed to keep graduating. And as I said, let's not lower standards, and let's keep them striving to be the best. Because 90, 95%, anything lower than that is kind of disappointing. We want every student starting in kindergarten through 12th grade to achieve their maximum potential. And I think it's just, encouraging them to do that. Motivate them to do the best they can. But really, it really depends on the students, first and foremost, that they want it. And we have to teach, and we have to get it into their head that they want it. And if we do that, we're going to succeed. Every school, if they get that into their students' head, will succeed. And that's the more these students succeed, the better we are as a country.
Great. Thank you, Joe. According to Minnesota's North Star Accountability System, we have seen the number of students meeting standards in math, reading, and science drop from pre-pandemic numbers. What can the Shakopee School District do to bring those numbers back to pre-pandemic levels?
I think this is basically the story around the country right now. I've read the statistics about the falling scores due to the pandemic, due to distance learning, hybrid learning, and it's disappointing. It really is. I would like to see, kind of out of the box thinking on this, I'd like to see juniors and seniors who are high potential learning students, the honor society students, go into the grade schools, go into the middle schools, and help the students out. Kind of be a mentor to younger kids. Help the kids that are falling behind catch up. It goes kind of back to what I said in the second question. the students are going to have to do a brunt of the work here. The teachers can only teach so much. But I would like to see some sort of mentoring program with the older students who want to give back to the younger students, because I think that's a great thing too. As there's a lot of students who would be like, oh, look, they've made it, I can make it, and just kind of that teaching them thing. And I think that if we can do some program like that, there might be some, driving issues, liability issues getting them into the schools. But I'd like to see something happen, because I think the pandemic has pushed us back a couple of years, unfortunately. You see it around the country, and I'd like to see the better students help out with the younger students and just make them better. I think a plan like that might work. But again, the students are going to have to try harder, for lack of a better term, and the teachers, again, I'm going back to the levy again. There's less students, especially in the lower grades, than there were per teacher in each classroom. That's going to help too. But it's hopefully we can get this solved, because it's a big problem.
Thank you, Joe. In 2021, voters approved an operating levy for the Shakopee School District. If reelected, what are your priorities regarding the school district's budget?
Classroom. We need to put as much money that we can into the classroom. That's the most important thing. Teachers do a great job. We have tremendous teachers in the district. I've talked to dozens of them. The other week, I was at the schools and they were just all thrilled. I think they kind of a sigh of relief of being post-pandemic, and I better quote that, and having the levy pass. I think it's kind of taken a burden off them. But we need to get as much of that money into the classroom. We have and this was one of the numbers that Director of Finance Bill Manazzi came up with, is comparing the percentage of money that's in the classroom versus the administrative costs. And we compare to the 13 different districts, including our own, where we're at with that. And we have a goal of 85% classroom, 15% administration. A couple of years ago, we were at like 84.24 approximately. And that was up to 5% more than certain districts. It was just shy of what Bloomington was at. And I think we're going to be above that number this year. And I think everybody wants the money spent in the classroom. And with that, what that shows is that we are spending it in the classroom. I remember looking at a audit report from a couple of years ago that had the administrative costs, different administrative costs, more the district level at 9%, over 9%, which was a percent above the state or the metro average. And 5 years after that, it was down to about 7.7, which was lower. So we're doing the right thing. One thing with the levy, we cut $7.5 million and we brought back $3.5. There's still $4 million that have been of spending that has not been brought back. And from everything that I know of the budget, it's not going to be. And probably a majority of that is non-student related. When the levy passed, it was, let's hire teachers back, counselors, and let's get that up and running. And get that money into the classroom where it's needed, and it's where the taxpayers, the parents, want it. And when that's the next question. Never mind. When I think that's just the most important thing. You hear location, and that location is classroom.
Great, thank you, Joe. As a current school board member, what do you feel the board has done well? And if reelected, do you see any opportunities for improvement?
I think the number one thing that we've done well is we've done exactly what we're going to say. We've done exactly what we said we were going to do. We cut in 2020, we had to cut $2.5 million because we were expenses were more than revenue, and we just can't have that. And we said if the levy didn't pass in 2020, we were going to have to cut $5.5 million. The levy didn't pass. We cut $5.5 million. We did exactly what we said. We didn't like it, but we had to. When we went for the levy in 2021, we had a list. This is what we're going to spend the money on. We're going to bring back this many teachers. We're going to have this counselor. We had a very long list of specifics that we are going to do. The levy passed, and we did each and every one of them. We didn't decide, well, you know what, let's spend money here and spend money there. For 98% of it, we did exactly what we said we were going to do. And I think as a board, that's the number one thing. If we would have not cut, if we had that $5.5 million and we're like, well, we're not going to do that, and we would have gone into a deficit situation, I don't think people would have trusted us. But by us saying this is what we're going to do, I think that's very important. We go out and we try to meet with people. You know, I'm on a communications committee, and we try at least 2-3 times a year. We didn't do it during 2020 because it was a little tough, and we did some online meetings where anybody in the community was welcome to join us. And we've gone out. If you want to come meet us, come meet us. If you have questions, ask us questions. If we don't know the answer, we'll get your phone number or your email, and we'll find out that answer, and we'll get you that answer. And I just think that that's been very important. I think we're transparent. Everybody talks about transparency. When we had the budget cuts and the budget, and when we were putting stuff back to the budget, we listed all that. And I'm like, I remember at a meeting, I'm like, you want your transparency? There's your transparency. That's where all the money's going. And you can always be better. You know, we have all the notes out there, the budget's out there if somebody wants to read it. The curriculum, there we go, is on the accountant words, you know. It's out on the website. Go check it out. Some of the classes that we have, I wish when I was in high school we would have had some of the finance classes that we have at the high school now, and they do need to have a finance. That's very important because I hear that all the time. There's a finance class that the students need to have to graduate. Very important. What can we do better? We can always do everything better. To say, hey, we're perfect in everything we do is just wrong, because we can always try to be better. You know, it's not only a board, just everybody in general. It's like you can be comfortable, but then once you get comfortable, you kind of get lackadaisical. And you just kind of think that there's something you do, and that's when you get in trouble. So you always have to have that idea that we can do a better job. And if reelected, that's, you know, I've thrown myself into this for the last 4 years. I'll throw myself back into it for another 4 and do the absolute best possible job I can. And I know that the rest of the other 6 members on the board believe that too.
Great. Thank you, Joe. Now I'd like to give you the opportunity to give your closing statement and message to the voters.
I have really appreciated the trust that people gave me 4 years ago on I think I was elected for fiscal reasons. As a CFO, I've been dealing with budgets for the last 27 plus years. I think that I've been a very effective school board member, and that says a lot, because sometimes board members aren't effective. I listen, I'm out there. I'm accountable to the voters. If you disagree with me on something, and I will own up to any mistakes. I do it all the time. Ask my wife. I think I'm a genuine person. I think that I don't think that I'm anything more than just some accountant who just knows budgets and can communicate better than most accountants, I think. After I watch this, I'm not quite sure. And you know, I think that's kind of 60% of what you have to be, is effective, accountable, and genuine. After that, you just have to just be real. And I think I've been real, and I hope that I've done a good enough job over the last 4 years that you will trust me for the next 4 years. And I would appreciate any vote that I can get. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. As a reminder, the views expressed in these interviews are those of the candidates, not those of the Chamber and Visitors Bureau. The Chamber is sponsoring these events as a service to the community and has gone to great lengths to ensure the objectivity. The Chamber does not endorse any candidates, but seeks to provide you, the citizens and voters of Shakopee, with the information you need to make an informed choice. The Shakopee Chamber and Visitors Bureau extends a sincere thank you to the candidates. We appreciate your time and service to our community by running for office. You are performing an important service to us all. Again, thank you for joining us for this edition of Meet the Candidates 2022. Please join us September 29th at River Valley Church for our candidate forum. Please visit the Shakopee Chamber website at shakopee.org for more information. Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.